Today is the 3rd of July, the eve of the American Independence Day. And what have I got here? Got a big pine, such a huge tree. And a customer brought it to me. Like most customers who bring trees to me, they think I can work wonders. He thought it was a beautiful bonsai. In fact, I've had other visitors to the nursery and they were worrying about this massive tree. They thought it was already a bonsai, but if you look at it closely, it is just a big bush. He has had this, the customer's had this for 30 years, 30 years. And in the 30 years, it was just a small Mugo pine. He's just constantly transferred it into bigger and bigger bonsai pots. And in fact, this bonsai pot is now so tight for the tree that Josh has just pointed out that this pot has cracked. So obviously he hasn't repotted it for a long while. Let's look at the tree generally. It has just been allowed to grow. I would say if you went back about 40-50 years ago on the British bonsai scene, anything in a pot was considered a bonsai, whether it was wired or not. And of course, it's so badly neglected. Look at the ivy. Ivy is the curse of our lives. When they grow, they climb up the trunks of the trees, they strangle the trees, and they really do a lot of damage. So this is what would happen with a big tree, you know, ivy climbing up the trunks, and then the tree becomes almost unusable. So let's get rid of all this. So obviously it hasn't been touched for a long time. How it has stayed alive, I really do not know. I didn't even tease the surface of the roots, but just out of interest, I will bring a rake and home in on it. I'm going to tease the roots. The reason why we like to tease the roots is because very often the front or back of the tree is determined by the root spread. As most of you know, I don't like using Japanese terms like nebari, but nebari, I think most people now understand, simply means the spread of the roots into the soil. And the way the roots spread in the soil can give a very good clue as to whether it would make a good front or not such a good front. So this is just ordinary garden soil, I think, nothing special. But I always think that trees grow in any soil. You don't need to be fussy about that. So obviously this little ivy was grown from a seedling, stray seedling, as they always do. It's a bit lopsided. The tree is very much to the back. I don't even want to try and take it out of the pot because it might just break the pot. No matter, I'm not going to repot the tree anyway. Just try to see. I have to scratch a lot. The tree is literally popping out of the pot. Look at the wretched ivy. So while I'm tinkering with the roots here, I'm looking at the base to see whether it's got potential or not. So the customer told me that he likes this side as the front, not a grafted tree. I don't think so. Mugo pines, some of the very unusual Mugos like Mugo mops and Mugo gnome, they are grafted. It could be grafted, but the graft is good enough that you can't see the join. So if you look at the tree, it has potential, but it's much too large. And look at these long branches. Look at these long branches there. Look at these long branches there. What would you do with it? You can't bend it or anything. And that is very long and straight. That is very long and straight. So, because we're making bonsai, we've got to think small. Think small. Big is not necessarily beautiful. Small is beautiful. So, what if we use this as the front? I've got to look for a potential line of the tree. And where would it terminate? The long branches, I can see straight away that they're not going to be much use. So, let me put my glove on, my left-hand glove, and see what I can make of this tree. Assuming that this is the front, doesn't matter whether it's front or back, let me get rid of the obvious long branches. That is very long. I don't think I could do much with that. So let's progressively shorten it. I'm going to keep everything I cut so that you can see how much I've cut. That's also a very long one. Cut that off. That's also a very long one. You must be wondering how I can envisage what to cut and what not to cut. What I'm wanting to look for are long branches that cannot be used. So now let's look at this one. This is such a long, thick, straight one. I don't think I can use that, but let us reduce the height of this slowly rather than take all of it off. It might eventually all come off, but I will do it in stages. I'm going to keep these because this, no, I think it's next weekend, or is it this weekend? I have some flower arranging ladies from Ikebana International coming, and they're going to do a pine arrangement workshop, so I'll keep this in water for them to use. Okay. Some more straight long ones. Now before I get too carried away, I better look at the other side. Never discount the back side of a tree, because what you think is the back, very often, or not very often, but sometimes turns out to be a possible front. So again, I'm still taking off these long ones going up that way. There's still some tree left. I'm glad the customer is not here, because if he was here, he might get what we would call a heart attack. It's looking better. Just giving it a short back and sides, but I haven't done anything apart from taking off the long straight branches. Now that's a very long straight branch. What can I do with that? I could possibly bend that, but the chances of doing that are not that great. Now let us consider the front, possible front and back of the tree. If I were to use this as the front, this could be a nice branch. It's thin enough. That could be a branch as well. Not sure about that long straight one, but that certainly can be a branch. Let me bring a pair of loppers, large loppers. Okay, I'm just going to shorten this a bit. As you can see, That is more than half the tree taken out. Got possibilities. Just by trimming. Just by trimming. Now, we're considering this as a possible front. Now let me see if I can. The only trouble is if I use this as the front, how am I going to terminate it? I can terminate it like that. But if I look at the other side, let me see what I can find the other side. Okay. If I use this side, let me just prop it up and see what happens. These blocks of wood are very useful. It's very fundamental. For those of you who are fairly new to bonsai, you don't think of using it, but for the old hands, propping up a tree is absolutely the key to getting a different perspective. So just by propping it up, you can see that beautiful line I've suddenly found over here. Look at that. I found this line. This line. So that's a possibility. Beautiful. So what I thought originally was the back is now possible front, because the line of the trunk here is so beautiful that I could use it. I could use it. So this could be a branch, this could be a branch, this could be a branch. Oh yes, I could use this extremely well. I don't need to look further. How nice is that? Okay, so this is possible. Very nice. I try not to draw an image of what the tree looks like. I know a lot of people do that. Even my great friend Kevin Wilson, he always draws pictures. But I prefer to let the tree emerge as I work. Different people have different ways of working, and I prefer to do it the way I'm used to. As I've always said, by now you know me, there is no right and a wrong way. There's always a different way. Different people have different approaches to bonsai. So you can see that this is going to be the triangular shape of the tree, and it's going to be a very credible bonsai once I've finished with it. Okay, I can see straight away that that is very long. So here we are. So I'm going to wire all these branches, and then let's see what happens. I don't need to show you too much of wiring, because wiring is fairly straightforward. I don't think I need to split the branch. I might do. It might help me bend it more easily. We've wired two branches. I want to wire these branches, but rather than take the wire looping here and going there, I will just anchor it to here and take it out, anchor it to there and take it out, rather than go right back into the trunk and wire. So the two branch principle is simply anchoring there and going out, anchoring here and going out. So let's do that. That's the back branch really, this is the front. So I'm trying to make it more compact, so I can make it more compact by bending the branches quite severely and then bending it back. So there's no reason why you can't do like a U bend, like a hairpin bend. You see? And you tighten the whole structure that way. And bring that and make that a nice tight pad like that. Can you see from the top? Like that, we can wire that. Before I get carried away, I thought I'd point out, in case this customer doesn't realize how much wire is involved, I've already used half a kilo of one size. And each of these coils is half a kilo. So that's half a kilo, 1.5 to 2 full kilos here. And then there's 3 kilos of wire already earmarked for this tree. So 3 kilos. Nearly 100 pound or more wire. Alright, plot on. So we will now wire these two together to form the next pad. So we're just progressing up the tree and the shape will evolve. You can already see the triangular shape evolving. Okay? So let's show you what we've done so far. Let's show you how much we've removed. Look at that. All this has been removed. And I dare say this is more than half. This is like 60% of the tree is here. And 40% is left here. So we've now got a beautiful line. You can see the line. The triangular shape is emerging. And these are going to be like pads. And this will fill the triangular shape. This will fill more of the triangular shape. The apex is going to be there. I'm not sure about this branch. This branch may have to go. This can go there and fill that. May just make it a short branch. Let's just take a little quick precision and see what it looks like. But we can decide on that. We can keep this, I'm not sure. This may be a bit too big. Let's get rid of it. Even I don't know what I'm cutting off. It's just instinct. There's certain things I can't explain. I just feel in my bones, as it were, that that branch doesn't belong there. And these also possibly, almost certainly, I would say possibly, don't need that. These also too long, don't need that. Method of elimination. Method of elimination, you get there. Let's return to the front again. So you see that beautiful triangular shape there. And what about this rascally bit over there? What can we do with that? No, that's a bit too long. Let's reduce that. Let's reduce this. The more I reduce, the less I have to worry about. As they say, if you get rid of your possessions, you have less to worry about. Same is going on here. I'm going to keep this to form a little triangle there. Can't decide about this, but I will fill this space with this. So I'm going to try and give more curve to the potential apex. So I'm going to branch split that and see what happens there. So we're going to do a bit of branch splitting over here to show you that I'm not cheating. I'm going to actually do it, but I won't show you the entire process because it'll take ages. The entire trunk I'm going to split all the way up with the branch splitter. so that I can make more of a curve to the very straight potential leading shoot. Going to go all the way up the trunk like that. I'm not sure about this. It's in the way. I can bring this here and fill that space. So, if it's worrying me, let's take it off. What the hell? Fill that space there. Make that a bit of gin. I haven't used many gins. Can fill the space here with that. With that. Okay, it's coming on. The rest is wiring. Okay, so you can see to wire. I will split this as well. Make it easier to bend. Pines lend themselves to splitting more so than junipers. And because pines exude the resin or sap, it heals better than a juniper. So we're going to go all the way up. I was on the telephone on a Zoom call to Carolina of the Toronto Bonsai Society, and they're all getting very excited about my visit there in about 12 or 13 days time. So I'm going to have 2 or 3 workshops and 1 big demonstration. So although my purpose was really not to do bonsai, I've ended up doing bonsai. But I've got family matters to see to as well. So I'm splitting it to make it a bit easier to bend and flex. So you can see the structure of the tree. The structure is very important. You can see all the branches there. Some people may argue that there are far too many branches, but because this is a customized tree, I always got to respect. I think I can remove that, but there's not enough back branch, so I will probably keep that. So this is a possible candidate for removal, but as I say, you can live with it. You can live with it. You see? Not enough at the back, so I'll keep that, but that's possible. And then we'll just, so it's all a question of wiring everything to create a triangle. And it's amazing how many hours have we worked. We haven't even worked more than an hour. In just an hour, see how much we've achieved. And I think given another hour, 2 hours, this tree will be complete. So let's look at the debris again, because this is the telltale signs of the story so far. Look at all that being removed. 60 or 70% has been removed, and the beauty of the tree has emerged. Another case of less is more. In fact, if I just left the tree like this and returned it to the customer, he would be over the moon. It's already looking like a bonsai. So this is only phase 1. We will do the phase 2 another time, and it will soon be finished. So this is the back of the tree. Let me show you what I had in mind. You must admit that this is looking very nice. I need to deal with the back. If I remove the entire back, it will look too bare. It could work, but I think it is too bare. So I'm going to keep some of these branches at the back to fill the space, but there are a lot of redundant thick branches. So I've turned it so that you can see the back. So this and this is very thick, and I don't want to do gins just for the sake of making gins. So I'm going to, I don't know, I may leave it there, because bearing in mind again these are customers' trees, he may want to do a gin at the back, but just to say that this is not really needed. No, what the hell, let's take it off. That's the end of story. And then this one also, we don't need that. We can shorten that. And then what I'll do with these long branches, we'll just wire them tight to make back branches to fill the back space. Alright, and this can be brought down as well. So just a little more wiring at the back and the tree will be complete. So this is what will happen. Can you see? We'll bring these branches back like that to fill the space and to give more depth at the back branches. So there you are. This tree is virtually finished. I'll show you when I've wired everything. And Josh has stayed here. We've only worked 1.5 hours to create this. 1.5 hours. And there you go. Almost a complete tree. So we are continuing with this tree, wiring some more, but the more we look at this tree, the more issues are arising. If I can turn the tree round, let's look at the tree dispassionately. The triangular shape is very good. If I gave this tree back to the owner, he would be over the moon with it as it is, but I know that it can be improved even more. If I can just ask Josh to hold the camera for me. Over here, this, as one viewer already has commented, is a problem branch. It is a bar branch. I don't have anything against bar branches, but this bar branch is really confusing me a lot. So what if we took it out? I don't know whether it improves it or not. The only trouble is if I removed it, there's a gap here, and in order to fill that gap I may have to bring another branch back like that. I might well remove that, but before I do that, I'm just turning the tree round. This is quite a nice line. This is a nice line, but when I was turning the tree round to do some more wiring, I noticed that this is also a very nice line. Look at that. That is a very nice line, like that. Like that coming up this way, and then we can bring the tree round this way and create a line there. So there are so many different possibilities that one can think of before we settle on any fixed option. So we're going to do a lot of wiring, arrange the branches and see what happens. So although this is the preferred side, we still have to look at it carefully. We may do some more wiring to the leader to see if I can improve that further, reduce the height of it a bit as well. So this is the thing which is niggling us at the moment. So let us wire everything and then arrange the branches in position and see what happens. So these two branches here sticking up, I'm going to wire that as well. And these are also going to be wired. And then we'll see where we go from there. So we've come to a very interesting part of the project. We've already removed about 70 to 80% of the branches. And there's still some more to remove. So we've got this pad and this pad. That is a back branch is okay, although ideally, you may not need that if you had enough at the back there. This is troubling me, and this is also troubling me. So let me do the white plastic bag or the paper trick and see what happens. What if I remove this branch? If I remove this branch and brought this down, it still looks okay, I think. The reason why I'm troubled by this branch is because it goes up like that and goes up like that. Very hard to bend, and even if I bent it, where would it go? Besides, I can fill that space with this. So I might make a bit of driftwood with that. I know I can be thinking forever. So, I know that's a gin at the back. I can remove it completely and not have any gin. I can do a little gin. Okay, here goes. I can't think forever, can't leave it forever. This also we can do away with and gin that too. So, bit the bullet. So even I have to make difficult decisions sometimes. Nothing is easy. Don't waste too much time doing that. Okay, so that hasn't affected it at all. It's still very nice. In fact, I got rid of an ugly feature. And this can come down and fill that space. Fill that space there. And these can go flat. So less is more. Less is more. Well, while on that subject, this is bothering me still. As we say, you got to bite the bullet sometimes. And I think now that I have a silky saw, or even I have a little chainsaw, what we call boys' toys. Decision taken, end of story. And then we will make some more in here. Simple. In fact, I can count the rings. I will count the rings. It's very close. It's almost like 0.5 millimeter each ring. The rings are really, really close. I shouldn't really rush it. I should take my time in making the gin properly. I will take my time to do that. I'm just wasting a bit of your time if you don't mind. And Josh has very kindly brought this in. All rusty bronze splitter, but this is a genuine Japanese bronze splitter. Just really ripping it and tearing it backwards. So sometimes when you do that, the dead branches that remain, you look at these burrs, you see you get that effect as well. So if you take your time to do it, you can achieve a lot of these lovely effects without having to carve even. So rather than rush it, I'm going to take my time over it. So now that we have these two gins there, they almost complement each other, you know, this and that, they're complementing each other. How nice is that? So what we thought was a very difficult decision turned out to be a blessing. Now let me not get carried away. But it seems that just by removing those two problem branches and creating just a tiny bit of gin has made a big difference. Now there's another gin possibility there. So there are lots of little things that we can do. So that we're also going to do. You make a small sloping cut and then tear the thing back. And now we're still faced with this problem of the leader. I think I will need to improve the leader a bit and make more of an interesting curve here with this one. Come back on itself. So we're going to put another piece of wire there. So this is the tree now. We've taken those problem branches out and introduced two gins there. So they complement each other. The gins are not over sort of obtrusive. So Josh is just pulling that back branch to the side to fill that space. Okay, that's nice. And then if you turn the tree around this side, there's another branch. This branch sticking up, if you point to that, that is doing nothing. We can either bring it down, but I think you can cut it.
Up to you.
Take it off.
Gin? Or not?
Yeah, short gin, yeah. If it won't bend, then we can put another piece of wire.
Go wire.
So to make everything tight. So all those branches are going to be made tight. All tight. Yeah, and then peel it towards the front. Roll it towards the front. Good. Maybe chop it into smaller bits, it might be easier. If you quarter it, so you get smaller bits. Yeah. Yeah, then you can pull those back. That's it. So here we are. Josh has helped with a lot of the wiring. So those two gins were branches before, and I'm glad we took that bold decision to cut it off. And here is the final product. Beautiful triangular shape, lovely branches. We haven't scalped it entirely, and it looks like a very credible bonsai. So because this tree has not been potted for 30 years, And you can see that the pot is cracked. It is so pot bound that the pot has cracked. So we're going to take it out carefully and put it in this pot, which is only like a temporary pot, but it will make the tree grow strong. Perhaps in another year or two, it can be potted properly again. So we will get it in that pot and take one final shot. There you go. So it wasn't too difficult to get it out of the pot. There are some new roots in there, but very, very pot bound. It was potted in like peaty soil. Considering that it hasn't been repotted for 30 years, it's not doing bad. So we're going to just ease it gently and put it in a big pot and let it grow strongly till we can do a proper repot in a year's time. So that's as far as we've got. So that's just another stage of the work. So this is the big pot we got the tree out of. You can see it was pretty pot bound. We didn't cut a lot of root, but this is the tree we're going to put in a temporary pot, large plastic training pot. We've got to make sure the angle is correct. So we're going to show you what we do for repotting. So what I've got Joe to do is just to loosen the root ball. We are not going to do a major root pruning. You can't do it in the middle of the year. We're just loosening the root so that it'll mesh in with the soil. So I'm going to prepare this pot by tying the wire through. Now just a word about wiring the tree in. A lot of people use the wrong grade of wire to tie trees in the pot. I've sometimes seen people, a 6-inch pot, they'll use like 4 and 5 millimeter wire. That's absolutely crazy. What you needed for that sort of situation was probably 1 or 1.5 millimeter wire. But because this is such a big pot, I'm going to use either 2.5. I think that is all I need to do. I certainly don't need 4 or 5 millimeter wire. I see people doing some crazy things, which if you just apply a little bit of common sense, you get a much better solution. So, as we say, a lot of this is common sense, but I think, was it Socrates who said that common sense is not so common. You don't often find common sense being applied in life. But anyway, this is common sense. I'm not going to use thick wire, but by the same token, I can't use 1 millimeter wire. 1 millimeter wire would be completely wrong. Okay, so we're just loosening the root. We haven't cut any root. And the original soil was like a peaty type soil. Mind you, this tree has been in this pot for the last 30 years, and he tells me he hasn't repotted it at all. So let me show you what soil I'm going to use. I'm not going to use the heavy soil, which is almost all akadama and grit. Now this soil is soil that I would use for like mainly junipers, where I've got 30% akadama, another 20% of Japanese volcanic grit, both the white and the black, and some organic matter like finely chopped bark. But the soil I'm going to use for this pine is going to have more of that organic matter, more pine bark, and less of the akadama and grit. I'm also going to use a bit of sphagnum moss to help the roots mesh into the compost. Okay, now this tree has got quite an interesting angle, so we will see how this tree sits. Put some soil in with the bottom. Okay, if I can ask Joe kindly to lift the tree in, and we will then decide what angle this tree goes in. Okay, I think you may need to come to the front now. Come around this side, Joe. You come on this side. Because the root ball, the way it was originally potted, you see, it was more or less towards the front, and lots of the roots at the back. I can't play around with it too much because I can't cut these roots off. I'll have to persuade the guy to do it at a later stage. So this tree is going to be more to the front because of necessity. not because I like it that way, but I have no choice but to do it because I can't cut the root, so I can't play too much with the root. So the angle of planting is quite important. So if I can get you to tilt it like that and more this side, so the angle has to be more like that,
Yeah.
but more to the left. Okay, let's try this. Okay, you hold it like that, put the soil in. So this is a really ample sized pot. It'll give the tree a lot of chance to grow. And near the roots I'm going to put some sphagnum moss to help the roots to generate. So we do a lot of these things to suit the particular situation. So this tree, because we're doing it in summer, I want to put moss to encourage growth. This is where if you can get access to sphagnum moss, it's a really useful thing to have around. No harm using it. It deteriorates and meshes with the soil. So the sphagnum is touching the roots. Just make sure we have access to the water. I could have put 2 pairs of wires, but I think 1 pair is enough. I'm not going to be doing stupid things. So this is the tree. Originally in this pot. It's now in this pot. Gins were made from these branches. Difficult decision, but we bit the bullet. Nice triangular shape, and that is the tree done. Hope you've enjoyed this video.